Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Capital City News. I'm your host Yusuf Mong, and this is your best way to stay informed and engaged with Salt Lake City government. On this episode, we've got segments including a Love Your Block program highlight, a Wake the Great Salt Lake art installation, Emigration Creek construction, and a look back at Armistice Day here in Salt Lake City.
We're here today because 1 year ago, Salt Lake City adopted Thriving in Place. We adopted Thriving in Place because some people, maybe we'd all agree, there's few things worse than moving, and especially when you never plan to move and you're forced out of your housing. Thriving in Place was conceived by Salt Lakers in a 2-year effort that we have never done more public input on a master plan to figure out all of the ways that a city can possibly engage to keep people in housing, and when we can't, how do we help you be in a community you want to be in and that's affordable for you and your family? And now today, we are so excited to launch 2 powerful new services. One is the Tenant Resource Center and also the Relocation Assistance Fund for Tenants. And because we're in government, we have made an acronym for it that we affectionately call RAFT. Over half of Salt Lakers are renters, right at 51%. And of that population of Salt Lakers, over half of them are rent burdened, which means they're spending more than 30% of their total income on housing costs. And when you're in that situation, which I've been in so many times in my life, you know that you're vulnerable. You're vulnerable to displacement, and that can happen from a myriad of different causes. And that's why both of these programs that we're announcing and launching today officially offer tenant-oriented resources that help support and really actively give tools and money to help people stabilize in their housing.
In this next segment, we take a look at the Love Your Block program, where residents and city leaders come together with community-led solutions, improving neighborhoods one block at a time.
Do you have a garden in need of some planting?
A friend in need of a tool? A vacant lot in need of some TLC?
A home in need of basic exterior repairs?
An alleyway in need of art? A community wanting to show off neighborhood pride? Well, Love Your Block is here to help. Any business, community organization, or resident in the West Side and Ballpark neighborhoods are encouraged to apply for a mini grant of up to $2,000 to help fuel those community and volunteer-led improvement projects.
Any idea that targets deteriorating spaces, addresses community concerns, or boosts neighborhood pride is welcome. Get creative, get motivated, and get your grant application in November 1st or December 1st. Visit our website to learn more about past projects and how you can get involved.
When I think about decline, I think about 2 things: myself and the Great Salt Lake. But unlike myself, there are people working to actively prevent the decline of the Great Salt Lake. In this next segment, we take a look at a Wake the Great Salt Lake art installation to educate and inspire.
In the military, we owe it to them to provide support and respect that they so deeply deserve. Salt Lake City government has about 200 veterans among our city employees, and every single day we see their professionalism and dedication and the pride that they bring in their roles across our city departments.
As a veteran, as a brother of a veteran, as a son of a veteran, I'm honored to be here to recognize your services to our country and honored to have served alongside you.
I echo everyone. The VA should forget giving you all health care. They should be giving you foot rubs. Sadly, that's not the truth of the world that we live in, and so my commitment is to continue to work for greater responsiveness and reciprocity to the sacrifice you made.
Up next, we're talking Emigration Creek construction. Take it away, Sarah.
My name is Sarah Buckley. I am the project manager from Salt Lake City Department of Public Utilities for this Emigration Creek storm drain rehabilitation project. Objective of this project is it's a storm drain rehabilitation and surface area restoration project that is improving the downstream area that conveys Emigration Creek just downstream of Wasatch Hollow Park. We have been in design now for about 2.5 years. And the infrastructure in this area has fallen into disrepair. The existing culvert that conveys Emigration Creek is deteriorated at the bottom. It's causing severe erosion to the creek embankments, and the area is just in need of major improvement. Oh yeah, definitely over the last 50, 100 years. When this project was constructed, just combination of the weather that we see yearly, our runoff seasons, and then most recently the spring 2023 flood that we actually experienced right in this location exacerbated the pre-existing conditions and definitely caused significant erosion from that flood. Features of this project include the culvert is being rehabilitated, and we are using a construction method called slip lining. It's a trenchless technology. It provides minimal impact to the construction area, hoping to conserve the existing embankments and the existing area. So it's minimal impact. And what that looks like is essentially the new pipe is a smaller diameter than our existing culvert, and that pipe is basically fed through a special machine and is slipped into the existing culvert. So it will be in the same location, new pipe material, which will increase the longevity of our culvert infrastructure. And then we're also extending the culvert 50 feet downstream of the existing location. And we're also going to be realigning the culvert to be outfalling more aligned with the center line of the creek. Additionally, we're also adding an outlet erosion control structure, which dissipates that energy of that flow that's received from our culvert and creates a more gentle flow when it outfalls. And this is all in measures to mitigate future erosion. Pretty much it's simple. It's as simple as the higher a flow or the more intense of a flow, the more you're going to be eroding away the natural embankments of the creek. And so that essentially causes a very unstable condition for both the natural environment in which it exists, and then in our case we have two properties very close by where they're seeing impacts to their foundation. And so this is all in an effort to improve the safety of both the environment of the creek, preserving the riparian area, and also helping to stabilize the existing properties that are here. So the next step is actually going to be slip lining the culvert itself. This week they are addressing all of the roadway improvements and, they're addressing all of the improvements within the roadway. That includes adding a couple of new storm drains that will address the local storm drain conveyance, and then also they had put in a water meter for the future irrigation of the vegetation that we're replanting. So that's the current phase. The next step in construction will be slip lining the culvert itself and also doing a ton of clearing and grubbing of the site and preparing it for the regrading of the site, because another major component of the project is we are going to be bringing in fill, and we're also going to be regrading the project area to be a more flat slope, more gradual slope than the existing steep slopes that we see now here. So definitely one of the major challenges that we faced on this project was the site limitation. The project area is incredibly small, and it's pretty intricate to try and get our construction vehicles in there. So that's a big reason why we chose the slip lining method for the trenchless technology. It's a bit easier to get the machinery that's necessary down there. So yeah, project constraints are definitely a big challenge on this project. And then also a reason why we chose to begin construction in the fall rather than the spring is because we experience historically lower flows in the fall compared to our spring, where we see high flows from all of the snowmelt and runoff that we experience in the winter. We're anticipating to have construction of all the structural components completed by the end of the winter, and then they're going to take a break, and then that's when in the spring they're going to pick up and do the surface restoration and the revegetation in the springtime, and we have a substantial completion of April 2025. And so, yeah, the public will definitely be seeing, some pretty disruptive events happening over the next few months, but Public Utilities is really excited about this project, and we've partnered with our design company, JUB. They have been the design engineers of this project, and we're all really confident that the end result of this project will result in restoring this area to its natural beauty and further improving the natural area of this area.
On this episode's History Minute, we take a look at Armistice Day in Salt Lake City, and a term that I thought was relatively new, but it's actually quite the opposite, which is old. Salt Lakers. I did not know that the Salt Lake Tribune had used that term to describe the joy of our residents here as far back as November 1918.
By the end of October of 1918, Utah health officials thought they'd turned the corner in the fight against the flu pandemic. Cases were dropping, and their efforts to isolate people with the flu were successful. But there was also a world war going on, and in November, when the armistice to end the war was signed, Salt Lakers wanted to celebrate, and the largest public celebration ever held in Salt Lake City ensued. Held in front of the Salt Lake Tribune offices between 1st and 2nd South on Main Street, the paper estimated 125,000 people turned out to the impromptu dance and party. Ordinarily, this wouldn't be an issue, but in the middle of a pandemic, this only worsened the situation. The day after the celebration, there was a spike of 125 new influenza cases, and it was determined that health orders would need to remain in effect and more would be required. On November 20th, a group of 5 businessmen were appointed to balance the needs of business with the health orders. They recommended that business hours be staggered, that passengers on streetcars be limited, and restaurants and cafes could not allow crowds to form, and no shop was allowed to hold or advertise any sales. They also mandated the isolation of exposed households and placards to be displayed where the disease had been found. One member of the committee angrily told the Salt Lake Tribune, quote, "If the public had cooperated with the Board of Health and followed the suggestions more closely, it's likely the epidemic would have been under control before now. But it would still be a long time before Salt Lake City would be free of the grip of the 1918 flu pandemic."
That's it for another episode of Capital City News. Remember, the best way to stay engaged is to stay informed. You can do that by following us on social media at SLC.gov, tuning into Channel 17, or subscribing to us on YouTube. I hope you're all doing okay out there. I know for me, it's been a rough few weeks. And this last interaction that I had with barista really summed it all up when I told them to have a nice day, and they told me to not tell them what to do.